With the news that Oscar Piastri is leaving Alpine's stable for McLaren, the French team were on the lookout for a replacement. The latest news is that Gasly could be joining Alpine, and Red Bull have already found a replacement. So what does this mean for Gasly? Plus, who is the young American driver that Gasly's move might depend on? Stay tuned for all of that and more F1 news coming right up. First up, Alpine looking into Pierre Gasly. Things change pretty quickly in Formula One. It wasn't too long ago that Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko denied any suggestion that Pierre Gasly could be leaving AlphaTauri. But then, there were rumors that Alpine was seriously having a look at the young Frenchman. Alpine suffered two very public losses when both Fernando Alonso and young academy driver Oscar Piastri announced that they were leaving the team. While Alonso left for Aston Martin, Piastri was leaving for McLaren. After a very complicated contract dispute that ended up in the Contract Recognition Board for arbitration, Piastri was announced as Daniel Ricciardo's replacement at McLaren for next year. That left Alpine with a very big hole in their 2023 driver lineup, and it was anyone's guess who would be stepping up to fill it. Their current driver, Esteban Ocon, said that he preferred Mick Schumacher. Gasly looked like it could have been an issue for Ocon, with the two known to have had issues with each other in the past. Sky Sports reporter Paul di Resta said that he doesn't think that teammates tend to have good relationships with Ocon. Meanwhile, Alpine's team principal Otmar Zofner refused to deny that they could choose Ricciardo. So coming out of summer break, it was very unclear who would be stepping into Alonso's shoes before Alpine revealed that Gasly was their preferred driver. Too bad, Ocon. You can't always get what you want. Next, Gasly leaves Red Bull. Now it's official. Pierre Gasly is leaving the Red Bull stable. After a long and eventful contract with the championship leaders, he's decided to part ways and try his luck with Alpine instead. But could he be making a big career mistake? Pierre Gasly has been driving in Formula One since 2017, so he has a decent amount of experience under his belt. After Daniel Ricciardo's shocking departure from Red Bull at the end of 2018, Gasly got promoted from Toro Rosso to prove what he's made of. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out well. After 12 races, his highest place finish was P4, while his teammates scored 2 race wins and 3 more podiums. He just wasn't performing on the big stage and was swapped out for Alexander Albon mid-season. In some ways, though, that was the best thing that happened to him. The following year, he won the Italian Grand Prix with AlphaTauri and has been the team's leader ever since. But with Sergio Perez inking another 2-year contract with Red Bull this year, Gasly is looking for bigger and better things. It looks likely that Red Bull will let Gasly move to Alpine sometime soon. If the transfer goes ahead, Gasly will move up from a team 8th in the Constructors' Championship to one that is in 4th place. But Red Bull is still the dominant leaders, and moving out of the team might mean giving up a future shot at a world championship. Plus, there could still be one very big condition for Gasly to move to Alpine. And now, Colton Herta to replace Gasly. If Red Bull loses Pierre Gasly, then they need a strong substitute, and they have hinted that their first choice is American IndyCar driver Colton Herta. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner has called Herta an exciting talent and said that they don't plan to make any AlphaTauri changes unless a good option is available to them. So who exactly is this guy? At just 22 years old, he's been making waves in American motorsport for the last few years. In 2019, he became the youngest person in history to win an IndyCar Series race. From there, he has only continued to impress. Driving for Andretti, he placed 3rd in the championship in 2020 and won 3 races last year. The last time that he raced in Europe was in the junior category Euro Formula Open Championship, where he won 4 Grand Prix, had 6 podium finishes, and 5 pole positions. It looks like he has what it takes to make it in Formula One and has expressed interest in joining the most exclusive motorsport in the world. Unsurprisingly, it's Red Bull leading the bidding for the young star. The team's track record with young prodigies like Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen speaks for itself. Red Bull has now confirmed that they have reached an agreement with the driver, and Helmut Marko has said that he would see him in Formula One as quickly as the next few races this year. Coming up, how is a license holding up Red Bull's big plans? And what did F1's CEO have to say about Colton Herta joining the sport? So don't go anywhere. Next, super license standing in the way. Colton Herta checks all of the boxes for Red Bull, but the FIA have some big objections to him joining F1. Will a license requirement stop the IndyCar star from making the jump to Red Bull? You need a license to drive in F1. Obviously, throwing cars around at over 300 kilometers per hour is a little different to stopping at traffic lights, so it's not a normal license. Instead, the FIA uses what's called a super license. To get one, a driver needs to build up 40 points over the past 3 seasons, winning a Formula 2 championship championship gives you the whole 40 points. Unfortunately for American Colton Herta, the IndyCar Series doesn't provide as many points, and he has finished 5th, 3rd, and 7th in the last 3 seasons, giving him 32 points, which isn't enough. On top of that, he needs to participate in some F1 practice sessions to get the super license. Helmut Marko said that Herta is a proven driver with 7 IndyCar race wins under his belt, and that it would be a shame if the FIA didn't grant him the super license. But if they're able to bend the rules for Herta, it would be huge for the sport. The last time that an American driver won a Grand Prix was Mario Andretti in 1978, and with the sport planning to hold 3 races in the United States next year, it would be the perfect time to give the home crowd someone they could cheer for. And F1 CEO rejects Colton Herta. Rules are rules, and F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali has poured cold water on the idea of Colton Herta joining the sport anytime soon. He said that it's unlikely that the FIA will be changing the point system just to accommodate Herta's entry. Domenicali thinks that there is a protocol to respect, and that if Herta doesn't qualify for the super license, then it's too bad. And Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff has thrown his 2 cents into the situation too. He agrees with Domenicali and other F1 bosses that there shouldn't be any exceptions made for Herta. While Toto said that it would be great to have an American in F1, he doesn't think that the rules should change just because there's an issue now. Meanwhile, Helmut Marko has stated that Red Bull are pretty confident in their ability to argue their case. He said, "I think we can prove that he's eligible for it. We are Red Bull, and we are brave, and we'll hopefully be successful with him." Red Bull has never been shy about challenging the FIA on issues, and this may be the latest battle they choose to fight. It just shows how invested they are in Colton Herta as a future star. His shift to F1 would be with AlphaTauri, so he would be under the watchful eye of Red Bull. At just 22 years old, he could be a long-term option after Max Verstappen's contract runs out in 2028. Next, Nico Rosberg compares Gasly to Hamilton. If Colton Herta is somehow able to obtain the super license, then that opens the door for Pierre Gasly to join Alpine. The big concern has been Gasly's ability to work well with Esteban Ocon, but former world champion Nico Rosberg has a different perspective on the problem. First things first, if Alpine really wants Gasly, then Helmut Marko has said that they will have to cough up the buyout clause in his contract. Sure, let's imagine they do that. Now, could a potential conflict with Esteban Ocon be shooting themselves in the foot? Teammate rivalries can end up costing teams big points in the championship. In 2007, Lewis Hamilton was so busy fighting teammate Fernando Alonso that they both narrowly missed out on the Drivers' Championship to Kimi Räikkönen. But Nico Rosberg looks at it from a different angle. Talking to Sky Sports, he said that his public rivalry with Lewis Hamilton during their time at Mercedes was managed relatively well. Apart from some on-track incidents, Rosberg thinks that the team were able to make it work because they were both performing highly. He also said that Gasly is the perfect choice for Alpine and that it's not hard to imagine him and Ocon performing highly together. Could it be the beginning of another great teammate rivalry? Do you think that Gasly is making the right choice moving to Alpine? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again in the next one.